Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
You understand that the term good morning is just a figure of speech. I've spent a lot of uncomfortable times in front of this microphone over the years and seen history made and found words hard to come by, but I don't know that anything, in many respects, not even 9/11, reaches this level of absolute astonishment on my part. So I know I'm not alone, and I don't know how many of you are out there, because it's sort of unbearable to deal with what happened. The first part of it is that we have been saying for so long that we don't recognize our fellow citizens, that we live in these totally different realities. We, of course, felt absolutely certain that it was our reality that would prevail, that their reality was virtual. We were wrong. It is we who were living in La La Land. We who didn't understand where our country was, who our country contained, what our fellow Americans value. I am as numb and as stunned as a person can be. I am fearful. I am sorrowful. I am ashamed. None of these things feel good, obviously. I cannot imagine how long this will take to settle in some way in my psyche so that it's not with me every moment of the day. I keep thinking of what a lot of children in America are feeling today. Children whose parents came here looking for a better life, but came without necessary papers. The hundreds and thousands, millions of children who this new president flat out said that on day one he's going to deport them. Send them back to countries they don't even know. Wrench their parents from them. he said it over and over again, so you can't now pat these little kids on the head and say, oh, he was just kidding. I can't imagine the fear and the sense of not being wanted that those children feel today. It totally overwhelms my feelings of despair. I can't imagine what Muslim Americans are feeling today. I know what women, many women, are feeling today. What are the people who just got insurance for the first time in the last few years? What are they feeling? What are their fears? Because I believe another thing that a President Trump said he would do on day one is destroy Obamacare. And he can, because he has a fully Republican Senate and House. The reality is that the Republicans, who we thought were finished, right, are ascendant. The party we were writing eulogies for, the party whose grave we were stomping on with delight, that is the party that now controls every branch of our federal government, most governorships of our states, most state legislatures. It is a party risen from the ashes and is a Godzilla. The Democratic Party? That's the party that died last night. That's the party that died. Boy, were we wrong. So I am, there are some numbers out. We also must acknowledge that it looks fairly certain that Hillary Clinton will have received more votes than Donald Trump. So here again, we good members of the Democratic Party swallow the defeat, even though more Americans voted for our candidate. And we accept the structure that exists of the Electoral College being the supreme decider. It occurred to me a few times last night, if this were going the other way, would Trump's minions have conceded, accepted, as we are? It's unbearable to think of Barack Obama having to ride to the inauguration sitting in a car with Donald Trump, a man who was endorsed by the Ku Klux Klan. It is unbearable to think. We have a call. Hello, caller. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Go ahead, you're on.
Oh.
Just like that. Hi.
This is Blovius.
Oh, Blovius, hello.
You might recall, or maybe not, a phone call I made a couple months ago that I sort of saw this coming with the selection of Hillary as a candidate. She's a flawed candidate at best, although most of her supposed flaws are basically founded on lies and distortions. But, we live in this world now where, more than ever, truth, it doesn't matter. Colbert played with that a number of years ago on a show, and with his phrase, truthiness.
That's right.
And we're certainly seeing the effects of that. But I would disagree with you that the Democratic Party died last night. They died quite a while ago. I'm going to say they kind of died as far back as the 90s, when they lost track of their key constituency, which, in a gross generalization would be the poor, the downtrodden, the discriminated against, but the workers, and gravitated towards becoming the the party of the managerial class, a segment of society which is a distinct minority. Workers, albeit that they work at some menial jobs these days, are still the majority of the American population. And right now there isn't a party that represents them.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that's...
So tell me, do you think if Bernie Sanders had gotten our nomination that he could have beaten Trump?
That's hard to say until you look at the numbers. It appears, bizarrely enough, that the black voter abandoned the party to a significant degree, at least over their participation in the last two elections.
Well, let me just say, I think it's black males. I think black women were if of all demographic groups, they responded more than any other to Hillary. They came and backed her. Black women.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree with that, but nevertheless, the black participation is down significantly. But it's hard to say whether Sanders would have won or not. I'd like to see what the youth vote was. My phone call of a couple months ago was I didn't believe if Hillary got the nomination that Sanders' followers, especially the younger ones, would then gravitate to Hillary.
But I think the vast majority of them did. I'm curious about what you think of 4 years from now putting Elizabeth Warren up.
I think. Well, have you read David Brooks' column in the Times?
Yes, yesterday's. Yes.
About it's time for a
third party. Right.
I think the Republican Party disintegrated last night as well. I mean, their old order is
right.
gone.
Both parties have essentially had grenades thrown into the middle of them. Right.
So, how do you put any faith in supporting a reboot on those parties, or do you go for something new? I mean, I like Elizabeth Warren. She probably would have been a much better candidate than Hillary. She didn't carry all the Clinton baggage with her. But, I think, the problem is, of course, is this country divided into tiny, little, clannish, self-interest segments.
Right.
Warren, kind of plays on that as well. I don't see her as a unifier, but then again, I think that what the Democratic Party needs to do, and why I think Hillary ran a horrible campaign, is the Republican Party, especially the conservative segment of it, is waging war And Democrats tend to think, when they go low, we go high. Well,
yes, we've got to what? We've got to become a little less Queensberry rules playing. We've got to what?
Exactly. If
Okay,
they're
but
kicking you in the balls, you better kick them in the balls back.
all right.
Only harder.
Okay.
I think that's the first order of business in 4 years is to...
Who knows what 4 years hence is going to even look like? That's the thing. We are now on a day-to-day journey into absolute uncertainty and, frankly, terrifying uncertainty.
I was able to vote for the Democrat who is now will be the highest-ranking Democrat in government, and that's Chuck Schumer, our senator from New York here.
Yeah, but he ain't going to be the Senate Majority Leader, is he?
No, but he's going to be the Minority Leader, and they have all those obtuse parliamentary rules.
And he's good at playing them. But we will now have to become the party of obstruction, and we'll have to out-Republican the Republicans on this. And frankly, if they nominate a Supreme Court justice, I say we somehow make it impossible for them to to take the seat. I don't know. We've learned. You're right. We don't playing by the rules doesn't work anymore. That's for sure. Hey, Blovius, I got to go, but thanks for your commentary. Appreciate it. Okay, bye.
Hang in there.
I'm hanging. Bye. I think these numbers will solidify a little bit, but I have that 93% of black women voted for Hillary. That's the highest percentage of any demographic group. So let's hear it for black women. Black men, on the other hand, I don't have that. But here's what freaked me out. And to my dying day, I will not comprehend it. Donald Trump got 63% of the women's vote? Is that true? I don't know where I got that. It's scribbled on a... How could that be true? Caller, go ahead, please. Caller?
Yeah, Lynn?
Yeah.
Yeah, John from Greensburg.
Yeah.
You have the withdrawal, and I don't think you have ties to hold you back. I'd suggest you simply relocate. You should leave the country.
Well, I have to tell you, my brother called late last night and said he's moving. He said he has always had a love affair with Scotland. He has a teaching position part-time there in St. Andrews, and he said, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm going to Scotland. And I said, don't be precipitous, but I would not be surprised at all if, there's one good American gone.
No, I would suggest that you
go.
Your son leave. Go to Europe.
He said, your son. He said, you need to get out of here. He said, you got a brown kid. Get out, if you can.
I'm thinking about all the people in my life affected by this.
I know.
I'm thinking about the planet.
I can't hear you.
I'm thinking about the planet, the world, because we're not going to do anything on global warming, of course.
Oh, nothing. Nothing. It's a hoax.
I'm thinking about gay people losing the right to marry. I'm thinking about millions losing their health insurance.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about the economy crashing, because it is going to crash. There will be a recession.
Yeah.
I mean...
And you mean steel jobs won't come back, and...
Coal jobs?
And mining jobs aren't going to come back, and, wow, that'll be startling.
There's no excuse. I don't give a good goddamn what people's reasons were.
Do you wonder if any Trump voters this morning...
For the past year and a half, an ignorant, crass, sexist, foul-mouthed, xenophobic, hate-mongering, bigoted,
Lying.
crooked, chiseling buffoon.
Do you think any of them... I know, but...
A petty little mean-spirited dickhead theocrat
Yeah.
who wanted to subject gay people to electroshock therapy and mandated there had to be funerals for aborted babies and miscarriages. I'm thinking about my younger brother who's in a union. I'm thinking about my 11-year-old nephew who's just a kind, really sweet kid growing up in this environment. I'm thinking about my best friend who's African American, his interracial daughter, his wife who's Jewish. I'm thinking about women losing the right to choose. I'm thinking about a Supreme Court that will be packed with right-wing nut jobs
For the rest of our lives.
Corporate lapdogs for the rest of our lives. I'm thinking about, and the Democrats won't filibuster that because that filibuster rule will get tossed. That's gone.
Yeah.
There's no checks and balances anymore. It's gone.
No, they own the government. So, John, do you think for a moment that anyone who voted for Trump last night thinking they were just doing a protest vote, sort of like some of the people maybe with Brexit, do you think any of them are feeling remorse this morning?
I don't know. I'm considering a 25-year friendship over a person I've known who, a lot of good times, bad times, who, when Bernie didn't get the nomination and he felt he was cheated, decided to just, become a full-on vitriolic anti-Hillary hater.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know. I hear your despair, your anger, and I'll take your advice about my residence under, consideration.
I wasn't being flippant.
No, I know you weren't.
I had no ties. If I was in a position to do something, that's even me.
Well, I mean, I could. Yeah.
My wife's an educator. I'm lucky that she still has a good job, but I've been out of work.
Right.
The economy ain't going to get better, folks.
Well, listen, with President Trump, don't worry, you will find good work very soon.
You know what else occurred to me last night? That President Obama and Michelle Obama, those two
dignified, wonderful,
incredibly
decent people,
worthwhile, caring, competent people.
They've been kicked in the behind, kicked out of the White House.
They're going to have to stand.
Yes.
January
20th, they will have to.
The reins of power.
I know.
To
I know.
Piece of trash.
I know.
Who called him an usurper, an illegitimate usurper, and a traitor.
I know. How the hell? I know. And Obama's got to welcome him tomorrow.
He should leave the country. I think the Clintons should leave the country.
Okay. Well, all right. Let's all take somewhat of a deep breath if we're capable. Thank you very much for your passion. Good luck. Goodbye. I want to read a little bit from...
I have the stats on the lady...
You have the stats on the what? Women votes. Women votes are?
So, as reported by CBS at 4:51 a.m. this morning...
Okay, there still are votes being counted, by the way.
Trump beat Clinton by 53% to 41% among men, while Clinton won among women 54% to 52%.
Oh, okay. Sorry, then my numbers weren't right.
Do you want the breakdown from white women?
Yeah.
Trump beat Clinton...
Oh, it was white women I was talking about.
Among white women, 53% to 43%.
Who? Trump beat Clinton. Okay, so white women voted by 10 points for Clinton, for Donald Trump. And you know what? My sisters, I don't know you. I'd like to frankly punch your fucking lights out. I hope you get pregnant and can't have an abortion. Let me read something. I thought it pretty much reflected my point of view. This is David Remnick, the New Yorker. The election of Donald Trump to the presidency is nothing less than a tragedy for the American Republic, a tragedy for the Constitution, and a triumph for the forces of nativism, authoritarianism, misogyny, and racism. Trump's ascension to the presidency is a sickening event in the history of the United States. On January 20th, we will bid farewell to the first African American president, a man of integrity, dignity, and generous spirit. And we will witness the inauguration of a con artist who did little to spurn endorsement by forces of xenophobia and white supremacy. It is impossible to react to this moment with anything less than revulsion and profound anxiety. There are many miseries to come. An increasingly reactionary Supreme Court, an emboldened right-wing Congress, a president whose disdain for women, for minorities, for civil liberties, for science, to say nothing of simple decency, has been repeatedly demonstrated. Trump is vulgarity unbound, a knowledge-free national leader who will not only set markets tumbling, but will strike fear into the hearts of the vulnerable, the weak, and above all, the many others who he has so deeply insulted. The African American other, the Hispanic other, the female other, the Muslim other, the Jewish other, the disabled other. The most helpful way to look at this grievous event, and it's a stretch, is that this election and the years to follow will be a test of the strength or the fragility of America. All along, Trump seemed like a twisted caricature of every rotten reflex of the radical right. That he has prevailed, that he has won this election, is a crushing blow to the spirit. It is an event that will likely cast this country into a period of economic, political, and social uncertainty that we cannot yet imagine. That the electorate has, in its plurality, decided to live in Trump's world of vanity and hate, arrogance, untruth, and recklessness. In a country with his disdain for democratic norms, it will lead inevitably to all manner of national decline and suffering. And then he says this, and I want you to think about this and remember this. In the coming days, commentators will attempt to normalize this event. They will try to soothe us with thoughts about the innate wisdom and the essential decency of the American people. They will downplay the virulence of the nationalism displayed. They will downplay the cruel decision to elevate a man who rides in a gold-plated airliner but who has staked his claim with the populist rhetoric of blood and soil. People can behave foolishly, recklessly, self-destructively in the aggregate just as they can individually. And sometimes all they require is a leader of cunning, a demagogue who reads the waves of resentment and rides them to a popular victory. do not let anybody talk. And, as a matter of fact, my advice to us all is to turn off whatever it is you've been subjecting yourself to throughout this last year. Turn off CNN. Turn off MSNBC. Turn off Fox. Turn off all of the pundits, because they were all wrong. The experts, the pollsters, they know nothing. And they help delude us in their delusion. They passed it on to us so that we woke up this morning to the knowledge, full knowledge, that we do not know ourselves. We do not know our country. It is not what we thought it was. And I, who had held out believing in the essential decency of the American people, who I've always loved, I will never have that now. I don't know these people. I walked down the streets this morning and I avoided eye contact, because if it was a black person approaching me, I didn't want them to see me as white. I wanted to be invisible, because if anything happened last night, the last gasp of the white majority showed its muscle. It ain't dead yet. The commentators, in their attempt to normalize this American tragedy, will find ways to discount the destructive behavior of the FBI, the interference of Russian intelligence in this lesson, the free pass that our television media, the hours of uninterrupted coverage of Trump's campaign will be asked to count on, reassured by the stability of American institutions. Liberals will be admonished as smug, as disconnected from the suffering of so many of their fellow Americans, as if so many Democratic voters were unacquainted with poverty, with struggle, with misfortune. There is no reason whatsoever to believe that Trump and his band of repulsive associates are in any mood to govern as Republicans within the traditional boundaries of decency. Trump was not elected on a platform of decency or of fairness or of moderation, compromise, or the rule of law. He was elected on a platform of resentment. This is the way fascism begins. Caller. Hello.
Hi, Lynn. It's Beth.
Hi, Beth.
I'll let you know, CNN just flashed up. It was 62% white, uneducated women that voted for Trump.
Okay, the uneducated. 62% white, uneducated women voted for Trump. Wow.
Correct. Yeah, that's the newest thing they just showed. And then also something that was kind of scary earlier was they also had, and it's like, are you serious? We're now reporting on CNN, Omarosa is making quotes for Donald Trump.
I did see that Omarosa has now, she tweeted something about how our enemies, she said,
Donald
has a long
enemies list.
We are keeping a list. He does not forget, and he does not forgive This is what we're getting.
Lindsey Graham.
Believe me, it's a warning to Ryan, too. He's toast.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it.
McConnell's toast. They're all toast.
Well, the only thing we're holding personal hope for is that maybe Toomey did his surprise before not Toomey, FBI director.
Comey.
Maybe he did that not to show partisan, and all we could hope is, look, I think a lot of these people, the talking heads, the bloviators, have no touch of reality. But now to have this thing that every single pollster is wrong, and this inane thing of they called the same people over multiple months for polling. First of all, how would you not? That blows my mind as polling incompetence 101. So what I'm hoping and we're hoping for is, are we going to discover that the Russians did indeed hack our election? And hopefully if they do that and discover it, they do it before the Congress has to ratify the vote.
Well, I tell you, I don't think that is why he won.
No, but
I think we did. American people voted
blade
him.
of hope that's getting us through today.
Yeah. It's I'm so glad. I don't know how the weather is where you are, but it is a gray day here, and if I swear if the sun were shining and it was a beautiful day, I don't think I could stand the dissonance of that with the way I'm feeling.
And no, it's the same way. It's the same way here, and it just seems to sum up mood and the temperament of the day. But I mean, just with a dear, I mean, just a sister to me, Muslim friend, and you could just tell as we were texting till 2 a.m, just the fear.
The fear.
Yeah.
Think of the fear so many Americans are feeling today. Legitimate fear, because the president-elect flat out said, I'm banning you, I'm deporting you, I'm taking away your health insurance. All this. Think of these little children who are disabled, who were so wanting, to have him beaten so that they could look up to a president. Now they have a president who ridicules people with handicaps, who talks about grabbing women's private parts,
say goodbye to the EEOC, say goodbye to the EPA.
Yeah. I'm really I don't know what I am. I know I'm numb. I'm numb. I don't even know that I feel like I'm sleepwalking. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how long it'll last. But this is what happened. This is reality. Unlike a lot of people who voted for Trump, I do understand what is real and what is not. This is real. We just elected a totally unfit reality star as the president of the United States.
Italy electing Berlusconi.
But Italy ain't the largest nuclear power in the world. I cannot. Do you know, before last night when I was still young, there were countries all over this globe holding emergency meetings. Governments holding emergency executive meetings.
Well, let me say this. If anyone ever thought there was some sort of global cabal managing everything, I would say this election has put that to rest.
Hey, I thought this election was rigged. He was saying that all through yesterday, too.
Well, maybe, like I said, the only...
Well, if it was rigged, then it was rigged for him.
Right.
So if he was being honest about it's rigged, well, then the outcome is not legitimate. And the outcome is the guy who was screaming it was a rigged game won. Ain't that interesting?
It is. Well, I'll hold out our hope.
All righty, Beth.
On this rainy day.
Yeah. Goodbye. Thank you. The voter suppression. Apparently, Wisconsin, my home state, had the lowest voter turnout they've had in ages. And that comes from voter suppression. And we know Scott Walker and his ilk fought mightily to suppress the vote in that state. The one piece of good news I saw, that god-awful, racist, bigot, son of a bitch, Arizona sheriff was thrown out. How that happened, I can't imagine. So, I know that despair is not a wise reaction to this. It's an emotion, and an understandable one. But we are allowed to despair for, I don't know, different people mourn in different ways for some time. And then, guys, we got to saddle up, unless you want to get out of the country. I mean, unless you want to disavow it and say, I refuse to even deal with this anymore, I'm gone. But we're going to have to figure out how we fight back. We have a call. Hello?
Lynn,
Yeah.
boy, did I get that wrong, that election, huh? Man, I screwed that one up.
Yeah, you sure did.
You know who got it right, and I thought he was full of shit? Michael Moore. He said it twice. I saw him like,
Well, that's right, he did.
Trump's going to win. I thought, he don't know nothing.
Yeah.
That
Well, you know what? He might have known because he's always sort of more in touch with the working class. Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, we're pulling your prognostication credentials. Yeah, you're gonna have to turn in your crystal ball.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
It's a lemon.
Yep.
All right, you.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, let me get to some emails here. Milt wrote this. Seems as though America has chosen the following: ignorance trumps wisdom, prejudice trumps equality, division trumps unity, war trumps peace, evil trumps good, demagoguery trumps compromise, hate trumps love. I know nothing, says Milt. The country I love is now an unfamiliar stranger. The living, breathing Constitution I covet, a tattered museum relic. Good night, America. I weep for thee. Chuck writes, I went to bed last night hoping I'd wake up this morning to find that Russia somehow inflated Trump's numbers. His numbers are simply unbelievable in so many demographic categories. Never, ever will I trust another poll. That I think is wise. Don't even listen to him. The media are not to be trusted. I mean, we have seen that. Both of my daughters voted in their first presidential election yesterday. Both thought they were about to see a woman become president of the United States. I almost feel worse for them than I do for the nation. Well, I feel you can feel worse for. I feel the same. All I could think of is the young people and the children. And this is what their government's going to be. None of us lived as children under a government like we are about to see. I cry for the children. Brooke says, only one thing scares me more than a President Trump. It's a Trump cabinet. Yeah. With the likes of Rudy Giuliani as Attorney General. Are you ready for Surgeon General Ben Carson or Reince Priebus as Chief of Staff? Newt Gingrich, Secretary of State? Because that's what we're going to get. The president will be speaking at about 12:15, by the way. I can't bear listening to any of it. It's just, I just can't. Oh my God. A friend of mine, Pat, said, and I don't agree with that, Pat. You said you don't validate much that I say. But I wrote this on March 3rd, 2016. And it's just a scribbled, it's dated 3/17/16. It's a scribbled note she wrote that says, Trump will be our next president. All right, I'll defer to your prescience, Pat. Wow. You did hear that Canada's immigration website crashed. I don't know. E.J. Dionne wrote this. You know, the part that's so unbelievable is that Americans is that they spurned this decent, wonderful man we've had in the White House for 8 years and replaced this wonderful human being, by all accounts, with this vile buffoon. Charlie Deitch, the editor of City Paper, just showed up at the window, and he did a podcast last night, and he left me the dregs of their bourbon. Did you guys really drink all this last night?
It was only 3/4 full.
Oh, it was 3/4 full.
I drank the neck before.
I have to tell you, Charlie, I was aware that, you guys wanted me to phone in. I was incapable. I didn't want to.
No, I knew.
I told you I was going to be
Right.
using I wouldn't have trusted myself.
At what point did you?
I gave up very early.
Yeah.
I could go check when I tweeted, I think, my sister, and said, I texted her and said, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm going, and it was like early. It was like 11ish.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you, I had the map up here on your computer, and when you looked at the map, it was obvious pretty early. And especially once Pennsylvania started to.
See, I didn't even see that part.
You didn't even see that.
No, I bailed before Florida actually went to him,
okay.
because I could see it. See it. North Carolina going to him, and it was just clear. None of it was gonna.
Yeah, when Florida and North Carolina, when Florida went for Trump, and then it looked like Michigan.
Yeah.
It looked like neither Michigan nor Wisconsin were going to go. They didn't call it, but you looked at the totals, and it was obvious what was going to happen.
Well, at first I started thinking, okay, so these totals are not telling me where they're coming in from, and so maybe the city.
Right.
But usually the later totals are rural areas, actually, and those are Trump areas.
Exactly. There were a couple of Detroit area.
Right.
Precincts that weren't in, but it's. Last night it was unbelievable. Today, driving in, when I woke up and so forth, it's, you start to realize that it's not as unbelievable as you thought it was when you start looking back at all the stuff that went on between the. I'm not blaming the email hacks, although I'm blaming the email hacks, but also what was in the emails, what the Democratic Party tried to pull, on Bernie Sanders, and you look back and we underestimated the number of how somehow I, who think everybody is racist, underestimated the amount of racist white voters who were who were obviously saying one thing and voted another way, and
that I think is the most dispiriting aspect of this. We now know our fellow Americans.
Yeah.
In a way we have not. I was talking about I have always relied not on the decency of strangers.
Right.
I mean of the kindness of strangers. I have relied on the essential decency of the American people.
Yeah.
It is part of the apple pie mythology that I still clung to. I don't anymore.
Yeah.
The American people have shown themselves to be mostly
Right.
hateful.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no, and of course they'll say, oh, that's not the case, and
Bah.
right? How do you
No.
other way? How do you explain it? You can't. I mean, say Donald Trump came out in this campaign and enunciated a clear economic policy that you thought, oh my God, this is the guy. His economic policy could pull us out of the crapper. By the way, he didn't do that. He didn't have specifics on anything except kicking out Muslims, keeping out Latinos. I mean, those are the things that he was most specific on, the hate-driven things.
What did he say do the first day of when he was president? He was going to deprive a whole millions of Americans of their health care.
Right.
He's going to deport millions of people, separate children from their families. Can you imagine the terror of young Hispanic kids in this country today, or of Muslims, or of African Americans? And I got to tell you, even Jews are feeling queasy.
Yeah. No, I'm sure. And the thing is, I heard some people. I read something, or I heard something last night when I was driving home at going on 2 a.m. It was somebody said that the turning point for them, or maybe it was a pundit who said the turning point for most people were that they were paying too much for their health insurance. But what about the people who now aren't going to have health insurance? They don't care about those people.
There's such a selfishness of
exactly.
Such a, I don't buy. I'm not going to be able to buy anymore that this was some kind of a revolt of the have-nots, because he won.
Right.
He won. You look up and down. It didn't matter where you were. If you were white in any income group,
right,
you voted for him.
Yep. Yeah.
It was a white
out, as they say.
A white out. I'm embarrassed to be white today.
No, I've been embarrassed to be white for a long time.
Yeah, right. Well,
but today, especially, it's. I wrote my niece actually, whom I convinced she voted for the first time, and I convinced.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah, and I could. Last night she texted me very early and says, "What the fuck was going on with this map?" And I said, "It's fine. It's all going to work out." And I early like the first, it was like
you were still delusional.
Yeah, it was like Trump had the lead, and and you're like, oh, but
it always looks that way
in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, we know it's going to look bad until the progressive states start coming in, like Pennsylvania. So I think Celine and I probably feel doubly embarrassed because we're both from Ohio and we now live in Pennsylvania. So we have two states that let us down.
Well, I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah, you're from Wisconsin, right? Yeah, it
used to be. I mean, the most progressive state in It is so mind-boggling what happened.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's hyperbole to say the potential destruction of the great experiment of the Republic of the United States of America.
Yeah. So what do we do, right? I think we mope or we mourn for.
Well, I think we're allowed. We're allowed to. I was just saying that when you came in, that despair and mourning and grief and all of that is just fine. But at some point, we got to decide: do we run? I was thinking.
Right.
My heart was pounding last night, and I was thinking I'm having an adrenaline rush, and what's an adrenaline rush about? Fight or flight.
Right, fight or flight.
And that is pretty much, right now we're looking at individually our survival or the survival of our nation. What should we do? Run? Right. And a lot of people have said, you got the means, get the hell out of this goddamn country. I don't know that I'm going to stand up anymore for the Star-Spangled Banner. I mean it.
Right.
I don't even have to take a knee. I'm just going to stay seated. Well, I'm done with it.
That might be a death penalty offense.
Right. Well, that's true.
Within 8 months.
Yes, true.
No, you got to, you have to just, you have to fight. And it's, I laid him, I worked like, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of.
Where, though? There's no Democratic Party where it's fighting.
No. Oh, no. That's true, but that's the whole thing. This is what I've been preaching for 2 years is we need.
Another party.
We don't need another party, but we need to have, we need to take control of our party like the Tea Party took control of their party. granted, obviously it's a horrible situation over there, but they saw that their party
What?
was
They own the
representing-
country now.
Exactly.
We were writing
wing
their
house.
obituary.
Right.
They friggin' this morning
Yeah.
own all three branches of the government, most state houses, most
Yeah.
gubernatorial seats.
He's going to have at least 2 years of unfettered.
Unfettered, they can do whatever they
Yep.
damn well please to us, and God
Yeah.
help us.
Yep.
Henry says, and I think he's absolutely right, my emotions this morning are much like my emotions when I hear of the death of a close family member. You lose someone close to you and you know you can never get them back again. For me, the swearing in of Trump will be the funeral for last night's death. I won't be able to watch that.
Oh, me either. No, me either.
Do you know Obama's got a ride to the inauguration with him?
He's got to sit on the dais behind him and act like
Think
the
of
world's
this
not coming to an end.
wondrous, decent man. And Americans have said, get the hell out of our White House.
Right.
We're taking it back.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't see how we go from Obama to the white mayor in 4 years. It just, I mean, it's not like in 2012 he barely squeaked by. I mean, those same people who voted for Trump last night voted for Obama 4 years ago and 8 years ago.
Explain that. I forget what county in Ohio it was. Overwhelming for Obama, maybe in 2008.
Yeah.
And just overwhelming for Trump.
Yeah.
Now, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, if it's Mitt Romney wasn't your candidate, John McCain wasn't your candidate,
but this guy,
Donald Trump, is your candidate. I mean, he's he somehow managed to convince the world that he's an outsider, despite being the insider's insider,
the ultimate insider.
Yes, you don't stand on the outside when you have that much cash.
We can't even begin to comprehend the conflicts of interest of having this globalist billionaire be the president of the United States, and how his business interests, which is all he's ever given a damn about, are going to affect who he cozies up to, who he maybe makes a little bit of a, cut your break here.
Right.
I cannot even begin to imagine.
And
Putin.
I know.
The thought that
he's
Putin
very happy. He
is like beside himself with joy.
By the way, Putin sends a telegram. What fucking use is it to Putin sending a telegram? Get an email, Vladimir.
Well, I think he knows how emails are.
Oh yeah,
sort of.
Right. He's like,
he doesn't trust those.
It's the fact, and also the fact that he got elected without having to disclose those interests, without having to disclose
his
the ones we know are
interests,
right?
Plus his. I mean, we don't know really how the state of his health. We don't know his taxes. He got elected by being a total cipher, really, just a virtual reality character. Hello, caller.
Oh, hi, Lynn. I just wanted to say I am also embarrassed to be an American today.
Yeah.
I just feel I have two children that are adopted from China and Vietnam, and my kids are devastated.
Yep. Well,
young girls. My oldest one, how she was watching it, I couldn't believe, and we knew from early on, and I just kept trying to tell her, oh, just don't worry, it's going to turn around, but no, I said I didn't know what to say to her. I knew.
Yeah.
And the bad part about it is everyone that I know, and my sister, not my brother, but they all voted for him.
Well, that's how it happened.
Believe it.
So what do you tell your kids? I mean, obviously, how do you sit down and explain to them what happened?
I don't know. I hate to say this, but I said to them that white Caucasian people are, I guess, so prejudiced. I didn't realize the hatred in the white population. I didn't really, but now it's like I'm like devastated.
Well, any of us who have children who aren't white, right, as I do too.
You did, right.
We feel an extra measure of dread for the future of the country we have brought them to, right?
Yeah, I could cry. I'm crying right now. I can't believe this.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, I know. I don't. God bless America. Obviously, I ain't saying any of that crap anymore.
No, I brought them here as little babies, and this is what has happened.
They know no other country. They believed in America, and America is a racist nation, much more so. Somebody here just wrote, I feel this was the latest battle of the Civil War. I always maintained that the North didn't really win the Civil War. It was quite clear we didn't win it. Because the South, the Southern mentality permeated our culture, often ran our legislative branch and our Supreme Court, and now they've taken it back.
Yeah.
Right. And my kids are afraid. They said, is he going to deport us? Is he going to throw us out
kids
of this
don't
country?
understand. Yeah, right. Right. Anyone who came in from someplace else, like my kid, your kids, they're scared.
And then it says right on the birth certificate, this is not proof that you're a citizen, this is no proof. So, they read that stuff now that they're older. They're afraid.
Give them a hug.
I know.
Tell them they'll be okay.
But I'm glad I turned your show on today. But hey, thank you. I'm glad there's other people out there that feel the way I do.
Yeah. Oh, there's tons of them. Not to worry.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, dear.
Right.
Bye. Bye. Oh my God.
Those are the people that have to get angry, get pissed, and spend the next cry a couple days. Although these antidepressants, I can't even cry, which is also a bummer. But cry a couple days, get up, and we guys gotta. It's time to. The Tea Party made its. Donald Trump is in office because a certain segment of our population
got active,
fucked shit up. They decided this isn't going to stand, so it's time for us to get in there with two hands and just fuck shit up.
I think our younger people too. They're the only hope. And you guys gotta get active in ways that seem really dull and boring.
Yeah.
But you gotta get active and then run for things like city councils and boards of education and stuff like that. You gotta start being in the pipeline to move up and be the leaders of tomorrow. Because us older people, we have, pardon the expression, fucked things up big time.
Yep.
Thank you. Here.
Salud.
Salud. We're going to start swigging. You going to take a swig?
Yeah, cheers.
Oh, geez. I can't. What is that? Whiskey?
It's a little, it's a little bourbon. It's top shelf. Smooth.
All right, you guys. I'm fired up now. Ooh, that feels good on your tummy.
It does. It does feel good, right? Warming.
We'll make it through this, I think. Thank you for helping me make it through today. Thank you, Charlie. I'm sorry I abandoned you last night.
No, please.
No, I was in a fetal position, a sodden mess. I was beyond help. All right. Mwah. I love you all. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.